The first unit is Object-Oriented Programming in C++. That is what we are having. How many marks? Total 50 marks. Theory period 50, practical period 40. So total periods are 90 requirement. Theory is of 30 marks and practical is of 16 marks. So total weightage out of 100, if you see, the programming, that is object-oriented programming in C++ will be covering you 46 marks out of 100. Right? So this 46 marks is for programming. Then next unit is also a programming unit, that is the data structure. Now data structure, we have actually learned some part of the structure, but it is now data structure. The name is different and as a result the structure, organizational structure is also different. But this is what we are actually dealing with, the logical unit. It is a core unit of programming. The structure, data structure, where we have seen some areas like how do we sort the names, how do we arrange the numbers in the ascending order, descending order, how do we search, how do we minimize the iterations, that all the things, how do we use the binary search method, or how do we make the half mirroring, right? Or maybe having a transpose of a matrix or addition of a matrix, or use the matrix concept to visualize how the pixels can be accumulated at the intersection of row and column, how we can make the image smaller, how can we make the zooming, all these things are possible with these particular kind of logic. Image is, as editing is not there, but the concepts are there. These logics can be developed in this. So this area is very difficult for those who will not think beyond. And this is the area where many of the students lose the marks. It is of total 24 marks, if you see that. So 46 plus 24, how much? 70 marks. So 70 marks out of 100 is the programming. Right? So these two, the major area tested in the practical also, practical questions also comes from data structure. So as a result, data structure is very, very important topic which everyone has to be alert when we start the data structure. It needs a lot of thinking. It needs a lot of visualization, right? It needs to visualize how the loops and within the loops and within the loops nesting and how it is working, the variable changing and all. So last time I had given simply the sorting method and many of you have got confused how the inner loop works with the outer loop. The pattern printing is one of the example of the data structure concept. So this year we will be having a specific logic, specific algorithms. We are following those algorithms to understand it better. But this is the core area where, like in this particular unit, we are having the exposure to how the data structures helps in making the tree. The tree is nothing but what I am talking about, the directory structure. We will be going folders, subfolders, subfolders. Like your C drive is there. When you click on C, it will be giving the list of folders. When you click on the folders, again it will be giving some other subfolders. So it is inverted tree. Your root is C, root drive is C. Then sub drive, sub branch, sub branch, sub branch. So how do we make a link of all these things? So all these areas is what we are calling it as a linking the nodes. How do we link the nodes? Then linking will be uniform. Is it one after the other, or linking will be a bidirectional, unidirectional, or polydirectional, many directions. So based on that, we may have the understanding of this data structure. That is what we are calling it as a linked list. And trees as such we are not dealing with, but I will just give you the example of one or two. It is in the higher classes. We will be having 100-mark paper for data structure in computer science when you are going for the higher classes. But as such, tree is not there. But other than tree, we will be covering the linked list in this. Right? Then next unit, if you see, what is the next unit? Go on this book question. What is the next unit? Data structure के बाद. What is the next? Database concepts, right? And SQL. Database concept and SQL. What is the total weightage for it? Total 12 marks, right? So this is non-programming and it is very scoring area. it is one more language you are going to learn this year apart from C++. The structured query language. SQL stands for structured query language, where you are going to make the database of the data. What are the different ways to organize the data? That is what you are calling it as a database. Database you might have learned in 10th standard. Somewhere I asked the definition. What is database? The collection of data, computerized data keeping system. Or MS Access you are done. That is nothing but an example of database. MS Access is also a database. Excel is a database. But this year we are going to use MS SQL. That is the database which you are going to use for this particular task. And this is very easy topic. None of the student can lose a single mark from this. That is the assurance I will give you. It is simple English like commands are there. If you want to select something, you write select this. That will select and give the answer. So if you want to create something like a table, just write the command create table. Right? So it is very simple. It's very easy. And it is the part which will be giving you 100% scoring. So as a result, this area is going to be even 12 marks. It will not take more than 2 to 3 periods, like your programming methodology in last year. Right? So the weightage is higher, but it is not having any difficulties in understanding. So yes, it is having the practical and theory together. So we need to focus on the practicals as well as you need to study the theory. The next one is what? What is the next one? So it comes now physics. The next 2 units are related to physics. Boolean Algebra and networking and communication. So Boolean Algebra, as we are having 8 mark weightage. Is it? 8 marks total? So the same concept you are going to learn in physics also. There will be hardly 4 marks weightage. Here it is 8 mark weightage. So in this, we are going to see what are the gates, how the gates are going to work, like your AND gate, OR gate, NOT gate. So we are using an AND operator, NOT operator, OR operator, then NAND operator, NOR operator, XOR operator, XNOR operator. How do we make the Boolean expressions? How do we design the circuit using these Boolean expressions? How do we make use of connecting them to get the required results? So how do we make use of kernel map to reduce it or expand it into the canonical forms? What are truth tables? How do we read the truth tables? How do we form the Boolean functions? All this having nothing related with practicals. We don't have any practical on this, right? It is not having any practical. It is totally theory based, and it is very good to know because it is giving you 4+ marks for physics also. So apart from these 8 marks, so we are having a 4 marks physics part. So total weightage overall in the score is 12 marks, right? So as a result, this unit is easy. It will not be taking much time. It is basically a simple understanding of set theories. What we have learned, it is Boolean algebra. I think you did it in maths. Boolean algebra as such it is not new, but okay. The previous chapter is also based on the set theories. That is SQL, databases and SQL, in which we are going to talk about how the relationship we can maintain. How do we make the union? How do we make the intersection? How do we make the set differences? How do we make the cross products of the 2 sets? All these things are there in the databases. So it is based on the, as a result it is named as Relational Database Management System, RDBMS, which works on the set theory. So first part of the SQL is of set theory, and second part is actually the TSQL, that is what we are talking about, the structured query language, right? So the previous chapter and this chapter is going to be more or less, previous is having practicals but this is not having practicals, but they are related to either maths or physics, right? And last chapter, that is the networking and communication. This is very big chapter, very big. The weightage is 10 marks and it is having open-ended. Okay, so it is not having any practical again. It is not having any practical orientation as such. But some of the part, last year in the board exam, this last physics paper, the present 12th physics paper, there was one question, what is the application of internet, for 2 marks. What is the application of internet, which been asked in the physics board, the CBSE board paper, for 2 marks. So this chapter actually deals with communication technologies. We will be talking about what are the communication methods, what is the band of communication, what is the wavelength, how the communication works, maybe the infrared communication, maybe your laser communication, maybe microwave communication, how do we actually make use of antennas, what is wireless wired communication, what are the designing structures of this, how do we design a network, how do we communicate with and without the wired or wireless, then what are the technologies available for the communication, like what is the difference between 2G, 3G, 4G, what are the standards, what are the SIM cards, what are the particular methods you are using for highways, that is information highways, how do we progress in the future, and what are the technologies available to use, what are the open-ended technologies, what are the other technologies which can be enhancing the speed of the internet and all. So it is having everything what is been left in the computer science. In this chapter, everything what you are not studying is included in this chapter. But this chapter is having one advantage, that there will be 4-mark question which will be giving you the designing concept, and that can be easily done by everyone. How do we design? There will be a situation based question. So they will be giving you the situation and asking you to give the answers of 4 questions, 4 sub questions. That will be asking you, if there is a 2 office located at different places, they are having so many computers, they are having these many networking devices, how do we make the connections based on their requirement? So that type of designing question is there, and it is easy, we can do it. That will be the 4 marks, which is 100% guaranteed. Then there is 1 mark question which will be having expansion for the abbreviated terms, like TCP/IP, HTTP, www protocol, or maybe W3, what is the other one, and TCP/IP, so many protocols, POP protocol, SMTP protocol, SMS protocol, or whatever the. So there is an expansion which is asked, that will be 1 mark, 4 plus 1, 5 marks, right? Then there will be 1 question which will be asked based on the types of networkings. There will be 1 question based on the existing topologies. How do we make the use of topologies? Like, what is the organization way of connecting the computers? Like, it will be, if it is within the location, it will be a local area network. If it is more than that, we will go for wide area network, or we may go for metropolitan area network. We may go for personal network, PAN, LAN, WAN, MAN, all these terminologies are there. That will be again 1. And there is a device comparison, like when to use switch, when to use hub, when to use repeater, when do we use optical fiber, when do we use a normal telephone cable, when do we use wireless communications. So this is going to give you 2 marks again. So 4 plus 2 plus 1, right? So how much? 7, right? Now out of these 3 marks, 1 question will be on the open source category. Open source, what are the open source standards? How do we make use of, what are the licenses we can use and all. And 1 will be based on the ethics of using computer. Ethics may be asking you a cyber crime, cyber laws, maybe asking you a value based questions on the ethics. And 1 will be a totally open-ended questions which we cannot expect what they will ask. So total 10 marks are like that, right? So the total syllabus of 70 marks, if you see, our focus should be on first 70 marks to score in the programming contest, and remaining 30 marks is what is been left without programming, right? Those who want to get the just passing marks without doing the practical, the programming part also can get the passing score. But it doesn't mean that you are learning the skills of programming. But at the same time, it is not difficult to pass also, right? So ensure that we are going to balance both the units. The second unit, Boolean Algebra, MS SQL, networking and communication is a part in volume 2, and data structure and C++, object oriented programming and C++ will be the part which is there in volume 1. So we are having 2 volumes of the book. Out of that we will be having volume 1, a major one, a bulky book is there, and volume 2 is very small book, but both are supposed to be with you. Okay, so this is about theory part. So total marks in theory is 70 and 30 marks practical will be there. Now we discuss about the practical part. What is the practical part? Practical is again 30 marks. Like in the practical we are having 30 marks total. Out of these 30 marks we are having 12 marks for C++ programming. Now in this C++ programming one question will be asked, and most probably that question will be from data structure. So none of the examiner will give you the easy questions, right? So whatever we practice, it will not be from that. It will be anything on the basis of that. So as a result, we should prepare ourselves in such a way that any programming question comes from that area, you should be able to solve it during the exam, right? So this 12 marks again testing you what is the programming methodology you are using. Either you are going to follow the programming methodology or not. For that 6 marks are there for programming methodology, documentation, indentation, prologue and proper inputs and outputs. So remember that programming methodology is supposed to be revised once more while you are doing the practicals. Every practical, whatever you are doing, you follow the programming methodology. Then we are having 5 marks question on SQL. Structured query language. We are supposed to solve 2 questions. This year we have solved only 1 question. But now for 12th standard, we are going to have 5 marks SQL, 12 marks this. Right? So 2 questions separately. And both has to be written in the answer paper. Fine. Then we are having 4 marks for your practical side, which you have to maintain minimum of 20 questions, programming questions, and those 20 questions will be based on the specific topics. So all the topics, subtopics which are there in that. So every topic is expected to be of 5 questions on each. So as a result, I have prepared the list of the practicals which you need to do. So this is in your hand. So if you submit, if you get certified, this is what we are getting it, right? And now, what is the project? How much it is? 12 plus 5 plus 4? 21, right? So now 2 marks is for Viva. 21 plus this 23. Then 3 marks for your project file. How much left? 4 marks. Now 4 marks will be actually having 3 plus 1 combination. 3 plus 1, why I am saying? 3 will be what is given if your project is good enough and working with explanation. So the Viva is only based on your practical what you got. Here including Viva, you need to execute the project and show to the external, right? And there will be 1 mark if you find it is out of the box. If that project is out of the box and if it is suiting, then he may award you 1 mark. That 1 mark is not for all the projects. It is depend on the external's view. Either he want to view or not. So 3 plus 1, that is the scenario. So 3 plus 1 is going to be like 3 marks for your project which you are going to show in execution. So you have to execute it in front of the examiner, and 1 mark is awarded if and if only it is going to be out of the box. So total project when you are going to show it on the computer. This is what we are having. So total 30 marks. Right? So syllabus and mark distribution as such, we are having 12, 5, 4, 2, 3, 3. So if you do this two, fine, and this is very important. So this is what during the practical you are going to do. So 5 plus 4 plus 12, 19 marks total. Is it? So total 19 marks will be tested during the practical exam itself. But for that you need to do this project before. Right? Now for the SQL 5 marks, it is also a practical part which is supposed to be tested again in front of examiner and get it done. This is what we are having on the regular basis, you can do it. This also is in your hand. So 4 plus 3, 7 marks are supposed to be done, and it is a criteria for appearing to the exam. If it is not there, you may be missing the weightage for it and you will not be allowed for the exam also without these two files. So project file and practical file is compulsion, which is a basic criteria for what to appear for the examination. And remember that all of you, theory passing is separate and practical passing is separate. Even though if you score 70 out of 70 in theory and if you fail to do anything in practical, you will be considered as fail, being you have scored 100% in theory. So there are two different areas. It is not like your state board. In state board the scenario is different. If you score 5, 10 marks, 30 marks out of 30 in practical, and if you score only 5 marks in theory, you will be considered as pass. It's not like that. It is combined mark. So here it is different. Practical is treated differently, but in all, ultimately it is of 100 marks, but the treatment of passing is different. So as a result, practicals are also important as theory is important. Okay? Right? So I hope everyone has got it. What is the syllabus? C++ syllabus. As such, it is not only C++. What it includes? It includes SQL, it includes Boolean Algebra, it includes networking and communication. Right? So we are going beyond C++, but ultimately core is again remains same C++. Fine? Clear it is? Everyone understood what it is this year? Now come to the point, how do we go ahead? How do we go ahead so that we can complete our syllabus by October or November at the most? So what do you think? If I start the non-C++ programming, is it enough? Okay. So we start with the non-C++ and then come to the C++ or what? We should start with C++ because that is the core. Right? So at the end, even though we are not getting the time, we may conclude those chapters immediately without having the time as such. Time factor for these chapters, particularly the other last 3, is not as required as what it is required for practice sessions of C++. So we need to start with the C++ itself. Right? But before that, now see the actual pattern of asking the questions. What is actually the question paper consists of? We can just focus on that so that you be prepared for that. There are total how many questions? Total questions are 7. In paper, if you see, you are having total 7 questions. This 7 question, question 1 is based on your C++ of class 11, which is of 12 marks. It means if you are not thorough with 11, then you will be losing 12 marks. So first question is based on revision 2 to C++, and revision is of 11 standard revision, and we will be asking, yes, there are certain questions which may come from your object-oriented programming, which is the chapter given in the textbook, but we are not covered as we are going to cover this year. But as such, it is a part of 11 considered, right? Then second question is of actual object-oriented concept. OOPS concept. This is also of 12 marks. OOPS concept, object-oriented programming, in which we are going to have classes, we are going to have object, constructor, destructor, inheritance and all these 4-5 chapters together is covered under this, right? Question number 3 is going to be of data structure. This is of 14 marks. So question number 3 data structure, 14 marks, which is based on again core concept of programming. Question number 4 is of files in C++, which is file handling concept, which is of 6 marks. Files in C++. Then question number 5 is database and SQL. It is also of 6 marks. Yes, 6 marks. 6 plus 2, I think. What is the weightage for SQL? Heavy weightage 8 marks. 8 marks. 6 plus 2. 6 marks. Query plus 2 marks outcome. So it is 6 plus 2, 8 marks. Then question number 6 is of Boolean Algebra. It is of 8 marks. And question number 7 is going to be networking and communication, which is of 10 marks. So see that total 70. So this is the pattern of your board paper. Total questions are 7 and you are having the mark distribution per question as such. You may have question number 1 based on your C++ concepts what you are learning last year. Then this year what you are going to introduce the new OOPS concept that you are going to be tested for 12 marks. Then data structure, some part which are covered last year, but basically array based. All array concepts and function concepts are there, which is in the data structure, which is of 14 marks. Files in C++, this is a new thing which you are going to learn. Every time we are giving some data, as and when we execute the command, what we are doing? We are getting the input from the user. The same input may be repeated, we are not able to store it. So file will help you to store those values. And it directly reads it from the file. You may create one notepad file, keep the values, ask the program to read it from that and execute the outcomes. So files are basically the data files which can be used for reading a text file. You may create your word files, you may create your image files, you may create your data files, or you may create any of the files which you require under this. And it is a permanent storage. So as and when we come out of the C++ program, still the data remains there. So that is what the advantage of this. And the database and SQL is of 6 plus 2. 6 marks query will be asked and 2 marks for finding the outputs. Right? Like that it is the distribution of 6 plus 2. The Boolean algebra is 8 marks and communication is 10 marks. So total questions are 7. Right? And the weightage for each question is clear. How we are going to have these 7 questions. Total like that it is. Okay. So